Shalom everybody, this is Watchmen Alexander coming to you again from Here the Watchmen 2018. And I am right now with Alton Ragan. I think I got that right?
That's right.
Okay, he is an author that I just met yesterday. And most of you guys know I have been teaching from the book of 2nd Baruch. And in that book, there is a very interesting section where God is speaking to the prophet Baruch. And he actually tells him that there will be a separation between the resurrection of the dead saints and the resurrection of the living saints at the end of the age, which is not something I had considered it before. I think I had mentioned it on one of my podcasts, but it's not something that I had put a lot of thought or study into. But something from Mr. Ragan's book caught my attention, and I wanted to ask him about it because he has seen something similar. Now, maybe not the exact time period, the gap that would be in there, but he has seen in the writings of Paul that there is a distinction between the resurrection of dead saints and the resurrection or the rapture of living saints. So can you tell us about that, please?
Man, that was a perfect entrance. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
The book is called The Dead Rise First, Rapture Countdown. There's the back of it. And actually what had happened through my life, I was in a car wreck, a high-speed car wreck, and I experienced an out-of-body experience. That was in 1971. And it scared me. A 17-year-old coming out of the body at that wreck, looking at it, my corpse laying there, it literally scared me. And I cried to the Lord and asked him I didn't want to die like this. I want him to give me another shot, give me another chance. And when I said I mean it, I got to go back in my body. One night, Brother Thompson was preaching a sermon about the dead in Christ shall rise first. And he talked about, are you ready for them to ascend up into the clouds slow enough to be looked at and gazed at? Because that's the way that's written. Jesus ascended slow enough. And then we who are alive and remain will be quickly caught up to meet him in the air. So after the sermon was over, I approached him, started talking about it. And for the next 30 years, it turned into my favorite question, but nobody could answer it. And so I started reading rapture books. Even when I go to the shopping mall with my wife, I just would go through try to find something about the dead in Christ, and no one was there. And so lo and behold, Logos came out, Blue Letter came out, and I started doing some researching, and I found out that all the dead in the Bible were raised one way and one way only. And Jesus was number 7. And that caught my attention. Then I noticed that whenever he said, I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning those who are asleep in Christ, he said, if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, amidst me arose, even so God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep in Christ.
Amistemi being a Greek
Amistemi is a Greek word. Thank you for that. And so anyway, I noticed that even so meant in the same way, the same manner, the same likeness, even so. So my dad had asked me, he said, are you trying to tell me that Paul's going to come out of that grave from perishable to imperishable and I'm going to meet him and see him? And I said, Daddy, did Jesus do that? And he said, yeah. And so from that point on, it would become a big, long conversation. At the end of that text, in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 through 17, it said, the dead shall rise first. That word is amistemi in the Greek, and it means the same thing as Jesus rose to walk around. So after I posed this to the men at the church and so forth, and they would lead me to another person, they said it'd make a good novel. And he said, take all your study notes and let the characters tell that story. And so that's what I've done with this book. So it's an interesting ride. It does do this. It will explain and it will tell you why the dead rise first. And what's that purpose? And Paul said he would not have us to be ignorant or uninformed or mistaken about those that are asleep in Christ. I challenge anyone and everyone, go get all your rapture books and just start highlighting where they talk about the dead. And I have found very little, if any. A lot of people don't even know that when Christ rose, there were others that rose with Christ, went into the holy city of Jerusalem, and showed themselves to many. That Greek word is agadro. And when Paul used that, agadro wrote in the Greek, that whenever the dead are raised from perishable to imperishable, it's agadro, and it means to rise up publicly and go show yourself. And that's the essence of the book. And there's a strong salvation message in there. People are caught off guard. There were 40 things that Jesus did during those 40 days. And those are reenacted in the book with characters. And it will take you for a ride. It will take you for a ride.
That's food for thought. So go check out Mr. Ragan's work. Is there a website to go along with this?
Yeah, it's just The Dead Rise First, Rapture Countdown. So thedeadrisefirst.com.
Okay, check that out, and also read Second Baruch. Study that. You may want to get my course after you get into that a little bit, but even if you don't get the course, read the book, because there's some very interesting things in there about the end times that you need to know. All right, I'll see you guys later. Shalom.